Melissa Peng here with the Entrepreneur Source. I am here with Scott over at I4 Search Group. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Doing wonderful today. Wonderful. How are you doing, Melissa?
I cannot complain. I'm about the same. Pretty wonderful over here. So thanks for speaking with me today. I'm excited to kind of hear from you the story of the placement that you had with one of our TS coaches and just in general, like how things are going and what you're excited about this year and going into next. Before we start, I just want to give you a chance to give us a little background about yourself. How did you get to where you are today?
Fantastic. 4 partners. We met at a franchise organization, ironically, and we were some of the top performers in that organization. Wanted something a little bit more recession-proof per se, and had a different vision for franchising. And we were all aligned in that. 2019, we launched a corporate company. In 2021, we actually began our franchise journey. And, obviously the first major player was Entepreneuer Source at bringing them on. So
awesome. So you've been on the other side as well. You kind of started in the franchisee's shoes.
We did. We kind of brand ourselves as a franchise organization for franchisees by franchisees. Cause even though we are a franchisor, we've definitely walked in that shoes. We know what it's like, that knot in your stomach to sometimes leave a full-time job and a cush job with, and start your own company. So we all know what that's like. And that's something that I've never forgot from almost 20 years ago. So
love it. So I will certainly come back to that because I do want to ask you more about like your experience and how that translates into, like how you work with candidates and what you would tell maybe other franchisors in the space who haven't been on that side of the fence. Like what from there have you pulled onto the franchisor side? But before we get into all that, I will start on the recent placement you had with Laura Rao, one of our coaches, and your new franchisee, Steffi. So maybe just take us through like Steffi's background and how what that was like at the beginning, and then how that maybe what the journey from there to where Steffi said, you know what, I4 Search Group, you're it, I'm in.
Yeah, so Steffi had a data entry background and wasn't exactly our ideal profile, but she was introduced to us through Laura, and we had a few good submittals there from Laura, and we agreed to talk to Steffi. And from the beginning, I was super impressed with her and the thoroughness, the attention to detail that she paid attention assignments, the ability to reach out to people and ask great questions. And our relationship grew. It took a little time. It wasn't like I don't want to say love at first sight, but I mean, there was definitely a connection right there from the beginning. And that relationship really grew to where there was a point where, we were convinced Steffi was right for us. And obviously it worked out well for her. With Laura, Laura was a big piece of that. I'm a communications person. We're in recruiting. So when a candidate interviews, we want to know, I mean, how does it go? And so we can relate, to Laura's position as well, and how, but she was very thorough. She followed up. She kept us informed, not only email, but live calls as well. So it was a combination of both. And, Laura was, although we kept that piece going with Steffi, and Steffi did a great job herself, Laura was extremely instrumental in making, being the matchmaker there to help make that work.
Awesome. No, I just love hearing all these stories all the time because every single one is so different. But what always interests me is, and maybe you can talk a little about this, what was it about I4 Search Group that really resonated with Steffi? And was she, you said it wasn't love at first sight, but what were her initial reaction to the brand at the beginning? And then what was it about the brand that really resonated with her?
The things that attracted her as she explored multiple franchise opportunities was the flexibility, B, working from home. So our business model is designed. You can obviously have an office and grow a team there, but is designed to be a work from home type environment. And then I would also offer up high profit margins because there's little overhead, meaning not brick and mortar, not equipment. It's the profit margins are extremely high, and that I think in the beginning attracted, Steffi to the brand, as well as Steffi's long-term goals of being flexible and traveling. Traveling is a big piece of her life, and she needed that flexibility, and that work from home. So um, a combination of all of those with that flexibility plus the high profit margins, I think that was her initial reason to explore I4 Search Group, and then obviously the connection and culture and things from there. The ability to earn the profit margins by bringing on other people and higher profit margins there as well. So it all made sense to her, and she's already brought a second person. She actually has a contractor with her already. So literally a couple weeks out of training.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
I know. I love hearing the stories. Right. She was just like, yeah, we're going. We are doing this. Well, you know what I think is interesting too is we always talk about income, lifestyle, wealth, equity. Like that's what the coach talks to our clients about right from the beginning. And they say like, hey, what are your goals around these kind of 4 pillars, if you want to call it that?
Sure.
And so what I think is interesting is you guys able to show Steffi like, hey, income potential, lifestyle, and then the wealth and equity piece. And I think it's interesting what you said too. Like initially, she was really drawn by kind of the flexibility piece, which I think goes into the lifestyle, and then also that income piece, which you talked about. But also, you then bring in the culture, you bring in the team, and like so brands being able to talk about their differentiators, being able to connect with the income, lifestyle, wealth, and equity goals of a client is really important. But then it's not just that. It's also like, how do they connect with you, your group?
Sure.
Like, how do you build that?
Yeah. I mean, and that was the one thing too, like in the beginning, Steffi had kind of a guard up there in the beginning. Obviously limited, probably had that knot in her stomach that I can relate to, but as the relationship grew, and as I was more convinced that she was right for I4 Search Group, and I think if she was convinced that it seemed to be like a good fit, then it goes into relationships, and she developed some relationships with our current franchise partners and myself, and like I said, she brought on somebody. She actually brought that person to training with her. So, yeah, wow. Right from the beginning. So
you guys set it up. She was excited about it. She was like, "Nope, I'm taking ownership of this, and we are going for it," which I love. So, talking a little bit more about your background as a franchisee, what do you can talk about it specifically to working with Steffi, or just in general. What is it that you bring from your franchisee perspective over to speaking with potential franchisees, like speaking to your candidates?
Yeah, I think the word reimagine comes to mind. One of the things that we worked in a system that was successful. Make no mistake about it, it was successful. But we saw some of the flaws. And hey, it's a business, and I understand that. But the franchisor was, if it didn't benefit the franchisor, then, if there was an idea brought from the community, that it wasn't necessarily taken and received very well. And that's quite, the opposite for us. Obviously, it is a business, as I stated, but what benefits it from a franchisee perspective? If a franchisee came to us with an idea and said, this is what I think would make my life more simple, more profitable, something streamlined. How does that relate to us? And can we help implement that with, obviously not doing all the work for them, but at the same time, a combination. Does it make sense for I4, and can we duplicate that process? That was a big piece for us as we looked at our organization. Was sometime, we felt, and as we did our homework on franchising, being able to duplicate and streamline a process. And not all franchise organizations have that ability to duplicate processes over and over and over. And we had all this knowledge in our head of how to be a successful franchisee, but how do we relate that to the people, and how do we teach them, and how do we give them that knowledge, and putting it on paper, systems, organization. And that's just a big part of our culture from being a franchisees, because what worked for us, how do we express that? And then also what we saw as loopholes and bottlenecks, and trying to eliminate those bottlenecks in a staffing organization, a recruiting organization. So.
No, I really love the, that take on it because, well, first of all, you can come to the franchisee candidate, and you have the same fears that I'm sure many of them express and are going through, like you said, like the knot in your stomach. And so being able to say, like, no, we built this brand to, like, address those fears. And I think a lot of people too in franchising, when they think of franchising and going into it, they think of certain things, like you think of food, you think of big, large brands that you see all the time, and you don't ever think, you know what? Maybe there's something in franchising for me where I can be a business owner, but I can also have a say in what goes on. It's not like franchising takes my entire life and I have no independence.
We've never claimed to be, or want to be the sharpest, ones that we have all the ideas. As a matter of fact, that's the exact opposite of what we want. We want it to be very, and I can't overemphasize that enough, very franchise driven from their ideas. Myself and my three partners, we were pretty vocal in our last company. Not everybody was. So we envisioned people, and we opened the door and allow a platform for them to be vocal and share their visions. And I'm only 2 years, right at 2 years removed from being a franchisee myself. So at the same time, and one of my partners is actually still currently, a franchisee in a different system. But so not so far removed. When we formed our company, we sat in a room for 4 days and talked about, what worked, what we didn't like, what was our solution for that. We got to day 3 and we had an obstacle for long-term growth that just we couldn't get past, and it took us a long time. And obviously we resolved the issue and blossomed, from there. So excited about it.
Awesome. No, I'm excited to see how you guys grow, and just excited about like the people that you're going to bring on, and being able to bring others into kind of that mindset and that culture. So going back to just working with Laura, working with Steffi,
Mm-hmm.
anything else in there where maybe there was like a specific obstacle? You said Steffi kind of came in a little bit guarded. What was it that helped her kind of bring her guard down? Was there like a specific moment, or was it just, something that you guys did on
I
your
don't I
side?
don't know that it was a moment, but I would say that debriefing. Laura did a good job of debriefing after each one of Steffi's calls with myself or my partner Rob. Would debrief with us, debrief with Steffi, kind of get what was the common thread, what were some of the hiccups, and she was that matchmaker. And that was one of the things, was we could openly express what our concerns would be, if any. But there should always be, we're also looking out, not only for our business, but when people are making those life changing decisions and investing their own money, and we don't want to be that company that looks and someone's way upside down just because that they made a poor decision. So we do vet that, pretty well. And Laura was that matchmaker that was able to debrief and help work through the issues. Both, I say the issues like there were issues, but, just the concerns, of any
It's
concerns.
normal.
And there always should be, some concern or pause when you're vetting, companies. What is it that doesn't settle well, and why doesn't it settle well, and how do you work through that issue, and what's the vision for that? So.
Awesome. No, I like that you say there should actually be some questions that come up, because first of all, it's like this long-term relationship that's about to be
Absolutely.
undertaken here, right? Like
Absolutely.
I think sometimes too, and I've heard it on both sides, from both coaches and from franchisors, where they're like, I just don't have time to, follow up every single time, or I don't have time to do X, Y, Z. And when I hear conversations like yours, stories like this one, it's like, it's actually, you're setting the franchisee up for success. And also you're setting yourself up for success as the franchisor. You, first of all, don't want someone to go into you want to make sure they have all the things that they need, all the knowledge they need, so that they're making the best decision for them. And then also for you, it's the next 5 to 10 years. So
Absolutely.
you do not want to, you take the time you need in the long term. It's going to be worth it.
Absolutely, and it's not something, obviously there's a reason in franchising. There's the cooling down period, but or cooling off period from
Yeah.
your initial,
Yeah.
exploration. But even further than that, I mean, it's something that you should vet and validation with current franchise partners. And you know, eh, I tell people, if you don't have a knot in your stomach, then it's probably, there's probably something we need to continue to vet there, because everybody should. I mean, it's a big life changing event to buy a business and to be a business owner versus working for corporate America.
And I like your approach too of, it's not like let's just rush through the process and get you to like the finish line as soon as possible. Yeah, that's like cause for worry a little bit where you're like, have we looked at everything? And just making sure, and again, like keeping the person excited about it, but also making sure they do have all the things that they need to make it a really, we call it like an informed choice. It doesn't necessarily have to be like good or bad, right or wrong, but once you make the choice, like know that you're going into the right one and you're going to make it work, which Steffi 100% is making. She's like, yep, this is the right one.
Yeah, and what impressed me most was, we can obviously express, what our business is about, and success stories, even potentially, hiccups and failures, and stuff like that. But the one thing that impressed me most about Steffi was her research and her ability. She went out and really dug in, demographics, really looked at some
Okay.
deep things. I don't want to say that I wouldn't have looked at, but yeah, that I wouldn't have looked at. And it helped her make, when it came time for her choosing her territory, she switched multiple times because of her research. And that was, quite refreshing to me. So.
Love it. What would you say to another, a brand who is starting to do development or who's in those early stages of bringing in franchisees? What are like one or two takeaways that you would give to them?
Yeah, as I'll go back to, our beginning relationship with Entrepreneur Source, and it was a big deal. We were going to bring on, I mean, we claim ourselves as recruiters and matchmakers, and here we are looking to bring on a company that's going to be a recruiter and matchmaker. We're like, what the heck? But at the same time, we found it very instrumental, because it's people that, that's our claim is it's people that we're talking to healthcare professionals every day, and we can deliver people that, a hospital system or a healthcare system can't deliver. Same thing for, Entrepreneur Source. If you're talking to business owners or potential business owners every day, wow, why wouldn't we want a piece of that? And the biggest piece I would tell someone and is, make sure you paint a picture of what you're looking for in a candidate. Do a detailed, thorough job of that. I would offer up that we probably didn't do a great job of that in the beginning, and as we painted a more clear picture, we've seen the qualities, of quantity and quality of candidates growing, on a daily and weekly basis. So.
Great, which I'm glad to hear as well. And I think too, it's kind of in the beginning, it's we'll talk to literally anyone. Like we just want to talk about our brand, which is great, and you do want to keep an open mind. But also, your first franchisees are really important to the brand.
Absolutely.
Well, every franchisee is important to the brand.
Sure.
But in the beginning, yeah, finding the people, especially you were saying like, hey, someone who can maybe ramp up a little quicker or get started. Especially in the beginning.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to, your first franchisees are definitely going to shape culture and validation. Hey,
Yep.
they're either successful or they're not successful, and that's going to be a part of the validation process. So it's important that you choose the candidates wisely.
100%. And what are you excited about, Scott, about the future of I4 Search Group, what you see happening in franchising this year, next year, the next 5 years? Take your pick.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably say two things. One, I say the story every day. We have the ability, when our first franchise system's built out, there will be single owners, and we already have about 50% of our partners with multiple territories. Mm-hmm. And having said that, it'll end up being about 55 people. And franchising changed my life. There's no question it changed my life. I'm extremely appreciative as well. That was one of the big reasons why that I wanted to franchise I4 Search Group, and that I helped lead that division, is because I'm so passionate about franchising. So what am I most excited about in the next year or even two is obviously the growth of I4. We've tripled in size um, since December of 2021. We will triple in size, or more than triple in size, this year. Healthcare, the space of healthcare, there's the need for healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
Our relationship, we're committed with Entrepreneur Source, and we've obviously got our first candidate that we closed the deal with, but have multiple people that actually fit our profile very well in the mix, and that relationship is growing, and we're just excited about the potential partnership there and the growth over the next few years.
Amen. I am excited as well. So thank you, Scott. I could talk to you for like 100 years, but thank you for taking a little bit of time today to chat through not only the recent placement, but also just franchising in general and all your knowledge there. So thank you.
Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.